This video is sponsored by EA Sports. So Cricket has come to the rescue and is going to make this car way safer. He whipped this thing up really fast. Welcome to another rainy, stormy day in Mims, Florida. Today we are doing the 3-rotor Some Love. We are going to be tackling rear suspension with that car. So when I was almost about to go to my first track day with that thing, one of the issues that we ran into is having way too much negative camber in the rear. Now, you can't adjust that out of the car without modifying everything or buying a whole suite of parts to make the rear geometry a lot better from Part Shop Max. So I got a lot of goodies that arrived for the car and we're going to be installing them today. We're going to be able to take out a lot of that negative camber for better tire wear and traction, and I'm going to be throwing on some adjustable lateral rods as well so that we can adjust toe in the car and just get us all sorted in the rear so she feels real nice when we're done with sliding. The Corvette is finally off the lift in my shop, so we will be able to utilize that for the 3-rotor today, and I'm stoked. I've been excited to work on this car, and this is one of the last pieces that we really needed to sort out on her before she is ripping on track, so let's get into it. You can totally see like the haze in the shop on the camera. The pre-mixed smoky haze. You probably had the car on for what, like 10 seconds?
Inside, max 10 seconds.
Yep, this is the rotary life. I got kicked out of the main shop with any of my rotary cars because I smoked up the shop and it was in the air for about 3 days. This is very full circle for Nick to be here when we were at this point with the car, like almost 24 hours away from being able to properly drift it. Nick is the one that sorted out a lot of the issues and things that we had trouble with while the car was in California. Oh, you would have actually just heard it for the very first time with everything welded.
With the new tune and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it runs really good now.
She's loud.
Super loud.
Very loud. That's why, you see those earmuffs there?
Yeah.
I got you a set too, because we're gonna need them. Been through a lot, and we're finally almost seeing the light here. Well, breaking news. We might already have adjustable camber links on there.
Yes.
That are aftermarket that I didn't put on. You didn't put on.
They were always there.
They're painted over, so they've just been here, I guess. And you think we'll have enough adjustability maybe to get by with
We can at least try it first, and then if that doesn't work, then we'll do all the PBM stuff.
Yeah, because we're just realizing in order to put the PBM links on, we're gonna also have to put their subframe risers in the car that have these pivoting tops, because the pivoting top is what evens out where the camber linkages go and how it's offset. Most companies, they sell you a set of these camber linkages that are different lengths, because, can you see on camera? This one is further in and that one is further out, so you have to compensate for that. But PBM's way is sending you 2 linkages that are the same size, and you're compensating for the offset with the subframe spacers. Is that all right?
I think that's basically the case.
But we also don't want to spend all day having a kumbaya fire trying to burn out the stock subframe bushings that are in there, because those have not been changed yet. And not only would we have to drop the whole subframe, but it might be really annoying to try and get those out to get these in that have the pivoting top. We're just gonna try and tighten these up and see what we can get away with.
Yep, that's what we're gonna do.
But we'll still do the lateral rods.
Yep.
And then replace this guy who's bent.
It's like stripped, the threads are no good, and then the top bolt is just hard to get to.
I mean, I hope it works because it's less work.
No, that'd be great.
That'd be sick if we don't have to drop everything. Somebody told me about this. A little joyride won't hurt anybody. Let's see what we're working with. Really? Are all your cars broken too? Missing an engine? Maybe you don't even have your car yet. Well, Need for Speed No Limits has got you covered. Download Need for Speed No Limits on your iOS and Android device today and rule the underground as you race for it all in the first edition of Need for Speed made just for mobile. Customize extreme rides and stock your garage with the real-world cars you've always wanted. Need for Speed No Limits gives you over 2.5 million custom combinations to play with. Race to win and don't be afraid to send it. That's right. What? This one is way more neutral still.
Yeah,
like this side is more neutral and this side
I agree.
still negative. Has to be better though.
Oh, it's way better without that.
Oh. Yep. Nailed it. Done.
I'm gonna question it. I'm not. I'm gonna be like, cool, that's good. We're
Totally
done.
accurate. Done. Our actual camper gauge is on the FD Ridge, so we're using good old iPhone technology. This is going to be as good as we can really get it for now because of the way that the diff is mounted and the conversion kit and how we have everything set at the moment. I feel like we should just drive it like this and then if
Feel it
it's,
out.
yeah.
See what you think and then make adjustments from there.
And just going into the new chassis ahead of time, knowing that we're gonna have this issue, we can build the car for this.
Yeah, we can address all that.
Nick is very excited to start the new chassis. Every problem we run into, we're just like, screw it. Screw this chassis, next car, we're gonna fix it. At least we can dial in tow now, which is already set. It's a quarter.
It's around a quarter.
Quarter? Cool.
So we'll just start there.
Sweet.
Needs more grip, less critical. Adjust.
Well, here I am thinking that we were about to put all these new shiny bits on the rear of the car, and the only things that we actually ended up installing were the adjustable lateral rods. So at least now we can dial in tow on the car, which is sick. We decided to just keep the camber arm that was already in the car. So this also is an adjustable aftermarket one. However, the threads are pretty stripped on this and there's not really much adjustability with how it stands now. The reason why we couldn't use my new one, which is this shiny boy right here, we couldn't use this one because this one was too short for our setup. Even maxing out the threads on both sides, this one just was too short and will not work. It won't work because of all the modifications that are currently done to this car with the conversion plate in here to hold our 8.8 diff. So this one is a lot shorter than the aftermarket one that is currently on the car. And yes, it being shorter, in theory, is what we would want to get out more of that negative camber. So what that shorter linkage is actually doing is pulling the subframe more up. So by pulling this more at that angle, it's gonna make our diff go like that and make our diff go more at an angle. This is already not the best setup currently as it is. So we have a pretty decent angle coming from the diff to our drive shaft. It's straight, straight, straight. But if you look right here, that transmission is like that. Okay, so right now it does work. We're not having any issues with it, but eventually we're gonna want to pivot the engine so that the transmission goes up more, which requires clearancing in the tunnel to get this less at a downward angle to the drive shaft and more just all the way straight through. So knowing that we already have to sort this out on the new chassis in the future, the last thing we wanna do is have this side at a downward angle and then the diff also at a downward angle, which is what would happen if we put a shorter camber arm right here. I hope that made sense. That is a bit unfortunate. We were able to adjust camber right here. We adjusted this as much as we could all the way up on each side, and that did take care of 1 to 2 degrees of negative camber. So right now the car is probably at -1 or 0. The whole rear of FCs are just tricky, and it gets even more complicated to get off-the-shelf parts from companies when you start modifying absolutely every single thing that's underneath your car. If you don't have an 8.8 conversion in the rear, those parts I'm sure will work great for you. But once you have this thing converted, everything changes. So plan of attack right now is just to test it out, see if we got rid of enough of the negative camber, see how she drives, and make a game plan from there. We had a late night working on the FC, but we got a lot of little things done. Things that have needed to be done for an extremely long time, such as headlights and taillights. Now, before you judge me for the headlights, this is just what I had in the shop and I wanted to make it work. I think the car looks a little ridiculous with them. They look like little mean beady eyes, but they are really, really bright, and I'm potentially going to be driving this car at a night event coming up. So I wanted to throw those on. So we have working headlights now for probably the first time ever on this car. So that was cool. But what's even cooler is that Nick wired up my Haltech dash. So now I can see a bunch of crucial information from the ECU, both on my Surface computer and right in front of me, driver point of view, with my dash here. So this is working and communicating with my Adaptronic M6000. We also got the tail and brake lights functional, and that's another first for this car. I don't think they've ever worked since the ownership of the car with me. So that is awesome. Again, crucial when you are going to be drifting and tandeming with other people if they see those. But most importantly, beyond the dash working, beyond the headlights, tail lights, brake lights, we got the strobe. My pat light is wired up. I just used the power lead that we had saved for the cool suit for now, because I couldn't find where the party light switch was wired to. I know it's somewhere, but I can change this later. The important part is that this pat light is working, and it looked so sick reflecting off of the firewall in the back. And for a night event, if I'm not gonna have underglow, I at least need strobe. I had it here when I was testing it last night, and it looked pretty sick. So I need to figure out a final mounting place for that. All right, and Nick would not allow me to do any more ghetto wiring. So last night I also got a Pro Wiring 101 tutorial from Nick, and now we are using legit connectors. All right, had to pin them and everything. So that was cool. Now I know how to be more fancy. I've actually never done this type of wiring before, so it was cool to see how to pin nice connectors, and these are like the automotive weatherproof grade ones as well. I really wanted to get underglow working on the car, but there just wasn't enough time, and I wanted to prioritize the things that are actually like safety related, like seeing the actual track with the headlights and people seeing my brake lights with the rear of the car. Slowly but surely she is coming together. Before I actually put this thing on the track and properly drift it for the first time, there was still a lot of drivability, driftability stuff that we wanted to work out with the tune. When Vardis was here, we were just extremely rushed. Vardis got a great base established with the car, and we've been working with him today to just sort out that drivability that I'm talking about so that it's nicer to have on track and have a starting point for when I start drifting this thing. Now Vardis will eventually end up coming back out here for a proper test day to really get it dialed in, but Nick is familiar with tuning. He's been working with Vardis to figure out the best changes to make for the first track day, which is very soon, and still just mind-blowing to me that we are that close. Oh, look at that nice display there. A lot of partial throttle stuff. Really just dial in all the things that we didn't have time for when we were on the dyno with Vardis here in person, because we had very limited time, and by the time we got the dyno running it was already nighttime and we don't want to make the neighbors mad. Are you happy with it?
Getting there. Getting better.
All right, we're pretty happy with where we got the tune on the car, working with Nick and Vardis on this thing, and I think we're just gonna go for it. The car is loaded. I'm gonna be heading to OSW in like an hour and a half, and gonna officially have my first ever drift sessions in the 3-rotor RX7. I think I've had so much bad luck with this car that I'm almost at the point where I'm just nervous to even drive it for the first time. But that's how we're gonna figure out what else we need to do. And I mean, the car has been through great hands now. It has come full circle. We've learned a lot, and we are finally on a really, really good path with this thing. Although I am very nervous, I'm also really excited. That is it for this video. Catch me drifting this for the very first time in the next one.